Rome's economic collapse isn't ancient history. It's a playbook. And if you're wondering why your paycheck buys less every year, why housing feels impossible, why you're working harder and falling behind, this is why. You've been told Rome fell because barbarians stormed the gates. That's the easy story. The real story is colder. Patricians and emperors built a machine that extracted wealth from everyone else while making it look like prosperity. When it collapsed, the architects had already escaped. The system worked. For them. For ordinary Romans, it meant prices rising while wages stagnated, then collapse. Every trick Rome used is running in your economy right now. In 167 BC, Rome abolished direct taxes for Italian citizens, complete exemption. The provinces absorbed 100% of the burden. The Senate wrote the law to protect their own wealth. A farmer in Gaul worked identical land, grew identical crops, but paid massive provincial taxes. His Italian counterpart paid nothing. Same plow, same field, different reality. The model was parasitic by design. It worked while conquest added new provinces. But extraction systems require perpetual growth. When expansion stopped under Trajan, the bill came home. Here's the mechanism they don't teach. Empires don't tax their core until they run out of outsiders to bleed. They export pain as policy. When geography stops them, the machine turns inward. Different uniforms, same leash. When Rome couldn't expand, the military still consumed 60 to 80% of the budget, roughly 181 million denarii annually. The war machine became too expensive to feed and too dangerous to shut down. So emperors found another way to pay. They degraded the money itself. Septimius Severus gave soldiers a spectacular raise. Legion pay jumped from 300 denarii to 500, 67% increase. Troops celebrated. They missed the sleight of hand. Severus gutted silver content from 70% to 40%. Here's the mathematics. A soldier under Marcus Aurelius earned 300 denarii at 70% silver. That's 210 denarii of real value. Under Severus, 500 denarii at 45% silver equals 225 denarii. The real raise was 7%. The nominal raise was 67%. The difference was extraction. Soldiers saw 500 on their disbursement. They felt wealthy immediately. But inflation takes time to catch up with debasement. Months passed, then years. Bread prices crept upward. By the mid-3rd century, legionaries threw debased coins back at paymasters and demanded gold or goods. Humans think in nominal terms. Bigger numbers feel like wealth. The gap between what you see and what's real is where they rob you. Here's where it gets personal. The modern version runs at 10 times speed. Pandemic stimulus delivered $3,000 to households. The Federal Reserve simultaneously created $8 trillion in asset purchases. Asset prices soared 40%. Stocks, real estate, bonds, your grocery bill rose 20%. You got 3,000. Asset holders captured trillions. You got the nominal raise. They got your wealth transferred to their balance sheets. The problem? Currency debasement makes populations restless. So Rome engineered the perfect pressure valve. The grain dole, free grain to Roman citizens, started 58 BC. Lasted until 476 AD, 534 years. It fed 200,000 people, 1/3 of Rome's urban population, cost 1/3 of military spending. Emperor Tiberius declared in 22 AD that losing grain meant ruin of the state. The program genuinely prevented famine for centuries. It saved lives, but it also locked citizens into dependency. Within one generation, it became politically untouchable. The dole became a leash disguised as charity. Citizens couldn't leave without losing allocation. It prevented starvation and created permanent dependence. Here's the trap. Relief that creates dependency. Benefit that requires submission. Modern entitlements mirror the mechanism. The United States spends $2.7 trillion annually on entitlements, 50% of federal outlays, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Each became politically untouchable within decades. Try cutting them. Watch what happens. The math doesn't work. No politician can touch them. That's design. Dependency is control. Who pays when money itself dies? Rome kept debasing. Slow enough that each generation accepted it as normal. The time weapon. Augustus maintained 95% silver purity. Nero dropped to 90% in 64 AD. Trajan held 85%. Marcus Aurelius fell to 70. Severus crashed to 40. Gallienus hit 5%. Claudius II minted coins with 2% silver. The progression took 2 centuries. Each emperor made a cut that seemed reasonable given the crisis of his reign. Wars, plagues, barbarian invasions, legitimate emergencies. But each cut made the next cut easier. Each generation thought debased money was normal. Egypt halted minting from 170 to 177 AD. Trade networks seized. Parts of the empire reverted to barter. Diocletian's price edicts failed. You can't legislate away mathematics. Move fast and people revolt. Move slow and people adapt. By the time they realize they're boiling, it's too late. Sound familiar? The United States dollar has lost 95% of its purchasing power since 1913. Federal Reserve balance sheets grew from $870 billion in 2007 to $8.9 trillion in 2022. A tenfold increase in 15 years. Quantitative easing is debasement with better branding. Transitory inflation became permanent. Then, the new normal. 2,000 years later. Different printers. Same trap. By 250 AD, Roman money stopped working. Trade collapsed. Cities contracted. For ordinary Romans, catastrophe. For senators who architected the system, the exit signal. The crisis of the 3rd century lasted from 235 to 284 AD. Over 50 claimants fighting for power. 26 emperors crowned and killed. Civil wars, foreign invasions, plague. Behind the chaos, senators converted liquid wealth into self-sufficient estates, land, vineyards, production, water. They built kingdoms. When urban coin economies failed, rural estates kept producing. When cities starved, estates fed themselves. And it gets worse. The senatorial class didn't fall with Rome. They became medieval lords. Wealth changed form. Families endured. They controlled the exit before the crash. When you design the trap, you also design your escape. Today, the wealthiest 1% controls 50 trillion in global assets. The 2008 crisis and pandemic both saw billionaire wealth surge while middle-class wealth collapsed. 400,000 small businesses died permanently. They shift to farmland, real estate, hard assets. Bill Gates became America's largest farmland owner. Chinese investors bought Canadian residential real estate. Families diversified into gold, Bitcoin, art, anything tangible when paper burns. Roman senators became feudal lords. Soviet officials became oligarchs. Crisis managers became wealthier. Pandemic powers created new billionaires. Every collapse protects the architects. That's structural design. Every collapse creates winners. The question is which side you're on. Here's what survives. Tax structures favoring insiders, military spending that devours budgets, currency debasement marketed as stimulus, dependency programs framed as compassion, elite escape hatches. Their exit route doesn't include you. You see the gears now. That's your leverage. Tax favoritism, military drain, debasement disguised as generosity, handouts as control, elite escapes built before collapse. Pattern recognition is armor in a world designed to keep you confused. Hold assets that outlive paper, land, skills, tools, resources. Refuse to measure wealth in nominal terms. Learn skills that survive crises, metalwork, agriculture, medicine, construction, energy production. Build networks that outlast institutions, communities that function when systems fail. Build redundancy in essentials so price controls can't cage you when they arrive. The point isn't doom, it's agency. Recognition is protection. Rome took 3 centuries to run the cycle. Modern finance runs it at 10 times speed. Same machine, faster execution. The trap is visible now. The door is closing. Don't be underneath it when it slams shut. History gave you the warning. What you do next is up to you. If you want to see what's coming, hit subscribe. History has the receipts. I'll show you where they're hidden.